air traffic control anasema mnafanya nini hapo bwana?
I even thought
Kanada
nilikuwa nafikiria I'm already live bro.
Free Flow
Uh,
Saturday episode number 33. Hallelujah.
let's
Blessings.
go. Let's
We
go.
used to
Let's
think.
go.
How's the week been?
It's been a good week.
Hmm.
Um,
I normally
meeting up.
say my week doesn't have to be entertained. I'm okay with a boring week as long as
Yes,
I'm hitting my targets. I'm not an entertainer. And I'm not looking if it is entertainment, I have my documentaries to watch, series. I can play Euro Truck. So my life doesn't have to be entertaining.
yeah. I
It
mean, I
has,
think it has to be this whole concept of life is generally, when you think about it, is a series of just many mundane activities.
yeah,
But it's in those mundane activities that probably yield something phenomenal. So
like
the day to day,
something
yes,
as elementary as showering. It keeps you healthy.
keeps you healthy.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
don't
it's
give much thought to showering, but it keeps you healthy. It keeps you fresh. Something as elementary as brushing your teeth keeps your dental formula in order.
correct.
Prevents you from a bad odor that may make a good meeting go awry. So it's just see, problem is people like saying you're talking to someone, and I've seen it with a member of our in our sisters. They say, the day is so boring. Uh, in a boesha leo, kwambia, okay, if you are really after something to sort of give you an adrenaline rush,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
simple. Take stones, nenda urushe mawe police station. Your
yeah.
day will be like boom. You run, throw stones at police station and start running. I assure you, the boredom will leave you.
It'll be
You'll have a
action
fantastic,
packed.
action-packed, sirens blaring, maybe even shots fired and dogs chasing you. You'll have a very nice story to tell. We are not seeking entertainment. We are seeking
and
simply
uh,
the,
and I
the
guess that's
slow.
that's that's the thing, to be able to understand that you have to keep your eyes on the ball,
Yeah,
but to get to the goal. I mean, it's the same thing. If you think of athletes, any major sport you might think of, any sport, when it comes to the championships, it's probably what, a 45 minutes, 90 minutes long game, but it has taken a series of months and years to get to that point.
yes,
To get to the point where you're in the championship, you're now playing against your competitor, you're now bringing to the fore everything that you've been practicing. And when you think of practicing, it's nothing luxurious, it's nothing to write home about, nothing
it's a drug.
exciting. it's
It's a
it's
drug.
literally, I mean, it's the same thing that we are doing here with these lives. it's
Yes.
it's going to be a series of this kind of things, and sometimes you're going to have lives that just bomb, if
Unasema
anything.
hii ya leo hata
Yeah,
haina ladha, but the thing is we chalk it up as we did it, like those in a campus, those afternoon lessons, you're like sasa tunaenda kufanya
double
nini?
math, double
eh,
math ndio hiyo.
sasa tunaenda kufanya nini, but that is what you need to get that degree or that certificate, because
you know
they mark attendance if they're still doing it that way. Using my time in
exactly, yeah,
campus, attendance is marked, and you
yeah.
have to
Even in
score
my
30% of the
in my
attendance.
uni, attendance was part of it.
30%
um
you have to score it. The biashara kukaa nyumbani na kukram notes. You have to be
because
there.
you
So
could easily crash that thing.
mm,
Maybe lessons zile mmefunzwa a whole semester, you
mm,
could sit in for a week and probably crash that whole thing.
yes,
But there
but
is there is a value to the day to day. There's a
yes,
value, like I know of a gentleman. There's a gentleman I follow. He's a well-known, um, very young guy, about 32 years of age. He runs a big media company in Kenya. This
mm,
guy decided to get into golf. And you know what he does? Every Friday, he has set this out. He has carved out Friday morning. I think he does it like 5 a.m. because it's literally the only guy on the course at that point in time. It's pitch dark. You've got only the floodlights running. The club, of course, is open for members that want to come in either for an early gym or stuff like that. So this guy goes in there, he takes his balls, and all he's going to be doing for the next hour or two is just hit those balls, hit those balls, hit those balls. So it's one single move, but he's just doing it repeatedly. And he has set himself that now that I want to become a golfer, the journey towards this is gonna be this thing. That every Friday morning I have to wake up early, shower, get in the car, go to the club, and just shoot these balls. That's it. One
A
single
boring,
repetitive task. Very boring. I mean,
boring
what's
routine.
exciting about it?
Very boring thing is we normally say 98% perspiration, 2% is the inspiration.
Exactly.
And
Hundred
so
percent.
it's
That's that actually that as and it's having that fortitude and having that kind of should I call it? What should it be?
is where you want, if you want to be a beast, you have to behave like one.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be a beast, but then ukiambiwa you have to be up by 3. You say tunaweza fanya around 6:30. No, no. You can't be haizi kuwa namna hiyo. If you want to be a
Mm.
beast, you have to do beastly things. You cannot
Mm.
achieve beastliness and you are there.
Still be kafukusui.
Uh, there's a very nice uh, psychological feel good thing. Like I normally, to get ahead of my targets, I normally wake up by 3, Monday to Friday. And there's a
Mm.
very, okay, my work will begin officially at 4, but I want by 3:35, I'm out of bed. It's a
Mm.
very nice psychological feel when I look
Mm.
outside my window and everyone is asleep. Eh?
No, no, that's
Lala
true.
tu.
I
Lala
I know
kabisa,
the
my friend.
feeling.
Well,
I'm way
umelala?
ahead of you.
Very good. Lala too. No problem.
I
So
remember
very,
talking to a businessman in Nairobi one time and told me um, there are some CEOs, 5 in the morning, they'll be at their desks working. Now,
wow.
when you guys are about 6, 7, you're struggling to come into the city, there's traffic, it's bumper to bumper. This guy is literally leaving the city to go catch his first golf game at around 7. This guy
I've
has
seen
literally
I've,
put in
I've
some
seen
two
these
hours
guys.
of deep work.
I've
Uh,
I've seen these guys at Railway Golf Club.
yes,
Whenever I have some early stuff to do in town,
yes.
and
You see them on the
those
highway,
are
yeah, off
most
the
of the
highway.
time before I was using the train.
Mhm.
That is it over Uhuru Highway or what? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it is Uhuru
yeah.
Highway.
So the it's 7. I'm getting to town. These guys are playing golf. Then someone told me these guys were working at 4.
Yes,
That is a break.
that's their break. And
Then I
it's a
realized,
working break when you think about it. It's a working break because
yes,
they are
they
meeting
are
with a
breaking,
couple
then
of
they
guys.
return to work. So
Not
that
even
made
that.
me realize
During
there's.
during the game, it's
Hmm,
in and of itself. It's a sense of relaxation,
hmm.
but there's also some work happening. That's where ideas of some kind of a partnership, ideas of a new product to launch, ideas of probably a new market to do. It's sort of hashed out on the fairways. By the time they go to the clubhouse
Hmm.
to get some coffee or whatever drink of their choice they are gonna take, is now just sort of hashing out. Now, after that, their peers are crazy calling people to now start putting this into place. But it began right there,
We
and
normally say there are levels
mhm,
to this thing.
there are
And
levels,
most of
bro.
the time, you get ahead by outworking people.
Mm.
Hakuna uongo. You just need to outwork some people. But now that's where employees, as an employee, you really need to think ahead, because most of the time, as an employee, you'll be locked somewhere. Your what you call your potential is somehow limited. Like a typical government employee is supposed to clocking at 8, right? And by
Mhm,
5 is out. 10
mhm,
o'clock there's tea break, lunch.
mhm,
My belief is that if you have such a routine for 20 years, you are
mhm,
practically dead.
mhm,
You are practically dead.
mm,
Unless there's something burning inside you to go out and do something. Because for one, a government entity is non-competitive.
yeah,
Are you not assured of your salary? You're on payroll.
100%.
You're a,
They're just they're there to do the bare minimum until they retire and now get guaranteed welfare to their death.
the only
That's
thing that people say that, oh, I can start my own business and not.
pension.
I
Mm,
normally say your attitude as an employee is related to the attitude you'll have when you have your own business.
mm,
You're not going to say that I'm going to slack around when I'm an employee. Then when I start my business, I'm going to shoot up. Kuna kitu kama hiyo. You are not like a Formula One car where there are modes, high performance mode and low
yeah,
mode. Hakuna. It is some sort of a mental muscle memory. Your muscle memory is meant such that you normally wake up depending on where you're staying and your traffic condition. Like say you use a train that starts at 6:30, then you are just predisposed to waking up at 6. And you walk slowly to the train station, you relax there. 7:30, it's in Nairobi.
mm,
Strolling, you get to the office, flip through some newspaper. If you do that in private sector or in a very competitive environment, you'll be closed in within a month or so. Or
mm,
your finances will be on your door. Hey, chief, uh, what's going on? And most of them, your finances are also businessmen. They
mm.
will tell you how come we are working harder than you. You who has our money. We are the one who has given you the money. Now,
Exactly.
tunaona
You're
tu
our bitch. So you should be out there working.
sisi tu you are in high gear, ni kama umeweka neutral sasa, you are just rolling,
Yeah.
cruising around. So it will work against you in so many ways. So as much as the people used to tell me, no, parastatal, you can relax, nini, you can do your own businesses by the side, and then what is the
If you're already stealing time from your employer, I mean, already there's a lot of dishonesty on there in there. So
Hmm.
um and as you say, yeah, the attitude you actually have, even when you're an employee, will reflect how you will be if you are to run your own business.
Yes,
Because there's even this term I think I've had. It's something called intrapreneurship. You know, it's like people who have ideas. So we tend to refer to those as entrepreneurs who would have an idea. They'll probably now decide, let me turn that idea into a business. If you're that kind of a self-driven, highly resourceful person, someone who is always looking to see how do they improve where they are working, either propose a new product line, propose certain improvements on their ways of working to increase efficiency. um, if you don't have those kind of attributes, and of course the discipline and the diligence, if you somebody of high integrity who doesn't steal from their employer, in terms of, it could be in simple terms, time and things like those. um, that shows, if you already don't have those kind of character elements, then there's no way you'll be able to operate well
that
um,
is why some of these individuals,
in your own business. Yeah.
these are the people who have messed up the real estate industry, because these are the people who
Mm,
exhibit funny behavior at their place of work then the only business that they can diligently run is to put up a
Mhm.
flat.
Yeah.
That is the only thing they can do. You beyond your flat and maybe launder money using some
Mm.
flashy matatus here and there, which
Mhm.
when you look at that matatu, you look at the cash flow versus the investment, it doesn't really tally. Someone tells you he has
Mm.
put like 300,000 shillings on the sound system. You're like,
Yeah.
how? And someone has one matatu, plain matatu is really struggling. So these
Mm.
are the kind of businesses these people can do. You've stolen, your diligence is in stealing. So even your own instinct will tell you, I can't do this. So let me just put up a flat here, flat there, put a mall here, mall
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere, hardware, whatnot.
Mm.
But any business that makes you sit down and think and develop a
Yeah,
product, come up with a
yeah,
concept where you know,
yeah.
I come up with this concept today, I need to have a documented improvement plan. Otherwise, I'm going to get overrun
Mm.
by my competitors. That's why people say in the international world, the most stressful job is either the CEO of an airline or a
Mhm.
manager of a football club in the EPL,
Okay.
where in weekends the other people relax. You in the EPL weekend,
Yes.
the siku ya kukula kiboko.
Yes, you're always on the edge, man. You're
Yeah,
wondering,
because
are we gonna be
then you're
relegated or
going
are we
you're going
winning?
in opposite. Weekend we are relaxing. Weekend unaambia you with your small Capuni team number 12.
Mm.
You have a date with the Man City. You're like, I twende tu tujaribu. So
And
Sharif
for the
Mustafa karibu. Hmm.
airline.
Airline pilots like in the international scene, like in America, there are so many airlines.
Mhm.
And somehow the only guys who are breaking through are the ones who are running very low cost airlines.
Yeah.
You
Like
are like Spirit
s-
Airlines,
South South
Frontier Airlines, uh,
Southwestern.
EasyJet in UK, and there's another crazy airline, Ryanair. Now Ryanair, EasyJet is
Southwest
a low
Airlines.
cost airline, but they run Boeing's, I think, A320s. I've seen
Mhm.
the. I used to have their documentaries. They look very organized. But when you go to this bunch of characters called Ryanair,
Mm.
Ryanair, I was watching their docu.
Mm.
They were telling you the CEO is telling you when you land in somewhere, and maybe it's whereby you are shutting down in another country. They tell you that the hotel where you sleep,
Mhm.
hakikisha umetoka na kalamu
Mhm.
na pamphlets. Do in Ryanair they don't offer writing material.
Okay.
So when you go to a hotel, see there are those complimentary pens and
Yes.
writing material. Toka na hizo,
Yes. Yes.
enough of them. That is Ryanair for you. And then if you
Mhm.
are doing a turnaround, those turnaround flights whereby you land and take off, a typical British Airways flight will take 1 hour turnaround.
Okay. Mhm.
Ryanair, they are doing it in 20 minutes. So a Ryanair pilot anakuanga na ufagio hapo chini.
Anafagia.
Ikiland anasaidia anasaidia na hostess kufagia ndege, because why? Those slots you pay for them. So the
Yes.
company has only paid for 20 minutes and the passengers know this kitu ni ya dakika 20. So ni haya haraka haraka haraka, ufagio, we are off.
Yeah, I
So
remember reading something about that, but in relation to Southwest.
yeah,
You've
Southwest is
had, I
another
mean,
one like that.
Southwest is another well-known. I mean, its story has been publicized quite heavily.
Low cost
The
airline.
guy who founded it, and I think that's something we haven't replicated very well in Africa, and that's why air travel generally in Africa. We'll be actually talking about it. Air travel, like within East Africa, is quite pricey. I mean, now traveling to Nairobi, I used to be paying. I've been paying about $300 return
Mm.
on Rwanda Air I think KQ would come to about sometimes $400 at the time. Although there are some sort of factors now that have changed, with the high interest rate, or rather high exchange rate of the
And
dollar,
price of fuel. That
fuel
was
fuel cost going higher. So now it's now actually almost double. So we are paying about $600 to do a return trip to Kenya. But even with that in place, the increased high fuel cost and the exchange rate, um, the airlines that service much of this region, and actually much of Africa, have not yet built a model that is highly cost effective. I mean, if I'm doing an hour from Kigali to Nairobi, do I necessarily need to have a meal or a snack provided? I don't. If I feel I need it, then maybe I should buy my own, either in the flight or before I board.
Ryanair, the seats are
So,
Ryanair and Spirit
uh,
Airlines.
yes,
The
Spirit
seats are
Airlines,
like
another one in the US. Yeah, yeah.
Mbukinya. That is
Ni
Mbukinya
kama
corporate.
matatu, hizo ni
Then
matatu.
now there was a time this guy for Ryanair, I think at that time was called, I don't know if they changed, it's called O'Leary, some Irish guy. That's
Uh-huh,
why you know there's a madness in this one. This guy says,
uh-huh,
uh, he was saying they are analyzing how often people go to the toilet while
uh-huh.
airborne. So they
Yeah.
are saying they are going to reduce they are going to remove the number of toilets. Then in place of the toilets, since you're having like a 1 hour flight, 30 minutes flight, we're going to
Add
have
more
a
seats.
ticket for standing passenger. Unaenda ukisimama. So guys said, wait,
Now
tafadhali
you're
chief,
taking it too far.
hii umeenda mbali sasa. Next utasikia tuingie cargo plane sasa kwa mashelf.
Exactly. And I guess what they have done is they have been very careful to identify areas where most of these costs
Yeah,
are
they are
located.
looking at the frequency of people going to the toilets. You realize that toilet usage is 50%. Hicho ingine inafaa nini bwana? Eh? We fanya hivi, will give you quarter price, simama hapo, kula rufu nusu saa, utakufa, utafika tu, usijali, relax.
Utafika.
But
Like
some,
I've used that Southwestern, and I know like one they don't print tickets.
yeah,
So
they use
even
the
boarding pass,
e-tickets.
the boarding pass,
Mm,
nini,
mm,
it's not printed, so it will be all digital. So even as you board, just show
mm.
you more. And I mean, it works. I mean, why do we need tickets?
How many
What do we need?
papers are you going to print in a year, let's say?
Exactly. So when they calculate all that, that's a cost. As you're saying, there's a cost when they park at
Mm.
the airport, and they are charged either per hour or per minute. I don't know how it goes. As you're saying now, they started looking at those kind of areas to
No,
cost
they
save.
said we'll work on a 20-minute, and they tell
20
pilots,
minutes like, and it's the
and they
same with
say,
Southwest.
so
I
they'll
don't think
tell
it is
you.
exactly 20 minutes, but
Mm.
they also have to reduce their turnaround time. By the time they land, park, they dock in, people are light, and then others, board. Um, that whole turnaround time, they had to ensure that it's much quicker than your typical lazy fair approach of you have to clean, do all these protocols and stuff. So I feel that's an opportunity some airline needs to take. Jumbo Jet was to come in to feel that, because I don't understand why a return trip maybe to Nairobi should be like $100.
But you see, here
Mm.
is the same thing we were discussing about things like KFC. KFC in Kenya, when you go to KFC, you will actually destroy the Instagram server with your pictures. 200 pictures, an entire album to last for decades. But KFC, Uzunguni is like Mama Ntili, ama whatever, Mama Pima,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So we have this very silly elitist
Mandaski.
kind of thing,
Mm.
whereby uh, airline, when you travel by air, you'll take pictures. Yes, ni mimi niko kwa ndege. You'll probably bring your village there to say goodbye to you and whatnot. But it's just a means of transport. It
Mm.
is just, in fact, with the air, what you are paying for is the convenience.
The
of
time.
saving time. It's just simply
Mm,
a time convenience tool.
mm,
So we are looking at this situation whereby, uh, like what do you call it? What Ryanair, they make it clear that we are aiming for 20 minutes turnaround, and we don't want to face penalties. If we face penalties, the people on the ground, whoever is responsible, will have to sort of bite the bullet. That is why the pilot for Ryanair with that Boeing 737, he has a long broom, chini ya kiti. Yani tumelandi twende kazi one time, chap
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 chap.
bwana, mbio mbio bwana, dakika ni 20.
Uh,
As in by 20 minutes you are
yeah.
taking off. So it lands and we go. Now imagine a Kenyan pilot with a broom akifagia ndege. Can you
Aye.
convince her? Yeah, hakuna bwana.
No.
Mm.
Hizo soma
Ah,
lebo baba. Soma
soma level.
lebo.
Captain.
Eh? A
Eh,
captain, bro.
eh.
How can you take him to that low level? Eh?
They can,
He's
because you
probably
still
the
have
only
that
captain
elite.
in his village.
So,
Eh?
but it is possible with that. It can be done. There are some adjustments that can be done because look at the way people travel from. There's a vehicle called Otangi from
Mhm.
Mombasa to Kisii, over 700 kilometers, 2 by 3 cramped conditions. The people travel. You can replicate it. Maybe you get some concessions. The Kenya Aviation Authority tell them this is only for 45 minutes.
Mhm.
As long as the plane is within its weight, if you're into 45 minutes, I'll charge you 2,000 shillings. Mombasa, Nairobi.
Yeah.
Hmm,
We need to have. I mean,
hmm.
of course, there's to be a level of comfort.
Some,
But certain
in fact, you don't
conveniences
have to
can be
tone
removed.
down. You are not toning down. Just a slight adjustment. And there are things when you sit together in a group, your minds open up. Like this CEO of some airline, it was replicated somewhere. They just made a decision before aeroplanes used to use glassware. So they shifted from glassware to plastics and paper
Yeah,
cups.
yeah,
Millions of dollars were saved in terms of fare.
yeah.
And
I mean,
then
I think it's
someone
only
did
a
some,
few airlines like Emirates. Of course, if you're in a first class and maybe
mm,
business class, you get
mm,
real cutlery. There will
mm,
be like an actual fork.
yeah.
They even give you a menu. It's really fancy, man. It feels
But
really good. You get a
you pay
menu with
extra now. You
yeah.
pay
But
extra.
Emirates, even on economy, bro,
You
it's
see,
really,
Emirates are on their world of
really,
they are in a world of their own.
yeah.
One, I don't think they have an official competitor. They have government
Yeah, subsidies
shielding.
are even
But
support.
when you are dealing this cutthroat world of the normal, like you are running an
Yeah,
airline in Europe, you'll have
yeah.
to come up with the craziest. In fact, there was some airline where, okay, they are not making it a law, but they are encouraging their crew members to be of a certain weight.
Mhm.
Crew member, because in airline we are fighting gravity,
Yeah,
and
there's
we
a weight
want you
issue.
guys, because they did a total of all, let's say you have 100 planes and this number of crew members, we want the total number of crew members, that ratio, power to weight ratio of the aeroplane to tunataka this figure. So we tafadhalini certain, but that one was fought off in a court of law.
Yeah,
Someone said,
probably the
hii
practicality of that one, it was pushing it too far. But like, and that's the thing. I think many of our airlines, that's what they need to do. They need to really itemize that
mm,
whole aspect of their cost structure, what it is. I do know what they have highlighted before, the likes of KQ, Rwandair, and all these airlines. They have said one of the reasons that their tickets are higher is because of taxes and parking fees. So, what they're required to pay, if a KQ lands at a Kigali International Airport, if a KQ lands at Entebbe, if a KQ lands wherever. In Africa, apparently the governments typically charge very high in terms of taxation and the parking fees. They're even saying actually a big chunk of that ticket amount goes towards that. So for them, if they look at, their fuel cost, how much they're going to pay their employees and whatever, it doesn't really warrant that high of an amount to charge for tickets. So, and I guess it's an ongoing conversation. I know somebody, a good friend of mine here in Kigali, who is so passionate about that. I think he keeps tweeting about it every time he gets a chance to talk about air travel and how expensive it is. And I've always thought actually one way of trying to make this whole East Africa community a reality, and in many sense it is, if you eliminate things like visas, the easy movement of people and goods and services, definitely we've made some leaps and bounds towards the integration of the region. But I feel if there was a deeper focus on infrastructure, so like now Kenya and Uganda, they are talking about extending the SGR, and now the talk is trying to get a financier. And actually, I just saw an article somebody wrote and said, why can't Kenya and Uganda really fund this themselves if it is really that important to them? So we are still in this donor mode. We always have to look
In
for
fact,
outside
in
help
that
because.
SGR thing, I find it a bit strange where to unless maybe I post it in. I'm a member of a Facebook group that deals with railways. You see the difference between SGR and MGR, the meter gauge, is the
Mm,
distance. That sleeper, that piece of thing that is between, it's called a sleeper.
yeah. Okay.
If you expand the sleeper to 1.8 meters, you
It
have an
becomes
SGR.
standard. Yeah.
Huh. So can we investigate into doing that thing in-house?
So the existing infrastructure, just sort of upgrading it
Yes, upgrade. In fact, that was
instead
the
of laying
idea
another
initially.
one. Yeah, yeah. And I know that was the other thing Kenya also suffered because it was like a
Mm.
double cost.
Yeah,
Because
so
these two railway lines are running parallel to one another. What for? While you would have extended, maybe at some point we would have raised the railway line if there was need to, but it didn't warrant laying a fresh line of railway.
that is,
The
we are
cost.
suffering from kickback mentality. Certain method is cost effective, but it has zero kickbacks. That is
Mm,
why something like when you say we want to increase salaries for policemen, nobody will really bother because that is money going into a police officer's pocket. Increase salaries for teachers, but when you say let's spend 35 or 150 billion in building some structure, now we are talking. Sasa, let's sasa hapo
mm.
sasa inapita land
Mahali
gani?
mahali ya
Very good.
kukulia. It's
Yeah,
all it's
which
all corruption. That's where they will
yeah,
find points where somebody will be able to
you
get
find
something.
somebody buying land in a very remote area. Kumbe he has the phone one that something is going
Oh
to be built there,
yes.
and the land prices are going to be. So they're the same people now going to sell land to the government. So that kickback
Right.
mentality is
Na
killing
kwanza
us.
hiyo SGR ilikulia hiyo vitu za land. I remember it. Because I was hearing people like back home, because part of it is going through a section of our area
No.
in Nemali and those kind of
Mm.
areas. So I was
Uh,
hearing how people are trying to make a kill, people buying land, anticipating, of course, it will pass there and government has to pay you, hmm has to
so
compensate you for that.
and the people who are private to these developments sit in very high places. So you
Of
find
course,
some very
you know,
strange character coming to buy a bush. You wonder why is this guy buying this thing?
yes, what for?
Speculation.
Mm, speculation.
And
He knew it.
and others will do some. And now that's where the madness comes in. Someone will do what you call a spike buy. He goes and buys something in a bush somewhere. Then others will follow him inside there. You know, like there's a time a bunch of sheep, zile kondoo,
Mm,
were walking, very huge. So there was some like a log somewhere, and they have to jump over. Then all of a sudden, the sheep that were behind, they also started jumping up and down, and there's no log. So somebody can spike, go into some weird bush somewhere, buy a piece of land, say hapa kitu inakuja. Then you'll see other people rushing to buy there. So you'll be the one selling it to them. Buy a very huge expanse of land in the weirdest of all places. Hapa sasa kuna Kenya rocket project itasetiwa hapa. Barabara, my friend, everybody will be running after you. And you'll be making a kid because you'll be telling them usiambie mtu. And the other person say pia usiambie mtu, ile pia usiambie mtu. So you are now conning people without the con game is not. By the time people start making noise, huko ana kitu yote. So it also tells you the business mindset of the Kenyan. No one wants to build something for say 20 years or 15 years. No. Taka invest leo, like those people of those people of these people really conned these people of greenhouse. At you
yes, I remember those.
Remember my friend. Kwani like tomatoes. So those other farmers who were growing tomatoes, kwani ni wajinga? I was approached by one in Mombasa. Oh, there's this fruit that you grow. Then within you realize what is being sold is the greenhouse equipment and the seeds and the pesticides and the fertilizer. That is the business. In short, if you do not understand what is being sold, you are the one being sold. So
you are the product.
You are the if you don't see the product, the product. So all those people who have been farming for decades, are they stupid? This guy tells you at tukuwekee kitu sijui nini inamea after 8 months, come and collect 500,000 from where?
They even had like every month they'll be paying you and stuff like that. And of course, you have to pay people, because not many people do the due diligence in terms of any investment that they take up. They would very happily really get that whole responsibility to someone else.
You are in Nairobi and you say you are planting onions in Kilifi. And you're like, you are planting onions in Kilifi. Why?
Exactly.
Yeah, Basil Criticus, the guy we used to have a very big sisal plantation in Voi or something like that.
I remember him. He was an Italian guy.
So you hear somebody you are with this guy in Nairobi every weekend, you are with him, but in a project in Naiva Polepole, gundua the kuiva Polepole is onions in some very remote. Yani ni mbali hata if you tell somebody with a truck to go get on, like, hi boss, hiyo mafuta ya kuchoma kwenda kurudi nani atalipia hiyo? And because you have been told that at baada ya miezi sita italeta 600,000. So you mean in the entire republic it is only your onions you are going to be buying?
And the people who are also scammed in this, I wouldn't even blame so much the scammers. I would blame those who fall prey to this kind of
scammies. The
scammies are just either too gullible. There are people that are looking for those get rich quick schemes. So already, if your mind is switched on that, then you're primed to be scammed.
Because like this thing of onions, like this thing of onions, has there been an onion shortage in Kenya? Onions are ever there. So where people unataka kupanda, you mean these guys wamekufa? Did they die all of a sudden?
We did a similar project. I'm part of a group. It's kind of an investment group. We did one like that actually. Onions, of course, you never get a shortage of it, but because we did actually an onion project.
Oh, you are one of them.
I guess. No, but for us, we had a piece of land. We own as a group. We were trying to think of a project to get into, and the one we took up was onion. And I mean, it gave us a chance to just build it up ourselves. So, setting up the land, buying up, all the farm equipment, the drip lines, getting to learn about the market. But we did that for like, I think, how many seasons? About 3 seasons. Then we decided, no, we're not gonna go through that again. Um,
Too many whips.
but yes, but of course, generally some of the produce that we have in Kenya, the local production is not yet fully satisfying the local consumption. So if you talk of onions, specifically onions and tomatoes, we do source quite a bit from Tanzania
Yeah.
to support the local market. So that means there's a demand for this. And if someone can do it very well, I saw this Israeli turned, I think he used to be a diplomat turned music artist. This guy called, what's
He
his
has a
name?
Swahili name. He has some Swahili name, if I'm not wrong.
Gilad, is it Gilad?
He's a singer, right?
He's a singer,
Mm.
Israeli diplomat artist, Kenya.
You
Yeah,
see,
Gilad, it's called Gilad Milo. So the guy, I think they profiled him on Citizen. He's put up a garlic farm and he's saying it's quite a lucrative.
no, no, garlic is something on a
Yeah.
completely different scale.
Mhm.
Garlic comes from outside the country in huge quantities. You see,
Oh, we actually import a bit, eh?
uh, now this is what happens. The problem with this thing of onions and whatnot is, as with most agricultural products, what I know,
Mhm.
you are not going to sell at your price.
Yeah,
You will produce at your cost, but someone will determine the price for you. That's
yeah,
why I always say, what do I call this? Agro processing is number one. Value addition,
yeah,
that is unbeatable,
yeah,
completely unbeatable. That's why somebody went on my timeline and asked, he has saved some money. Should he do nursing or should he do farming? I told him, save more money, then start your farm with a small cottage side value addition unit. If you are doing
yeah,
tomatoes, have a tomato paste manufacturing unit inside there. If
yeah.
you are doing sweet potatoes, have a sweet potato
That's a very good idea.
frying and packaging system.
Mm.
And you can, in fact, with sweet potato frying is so nice in that once you've chopped it and you have something like a solar panel, you can connect to an air fryer, a bulk air fryer, and a packaging system. We have some very fancy potato crisps in the markets. Join that now. No cartel will come in there and start bothering you the potato crisps.
Mm. Yeah,
So
exactly.
if
And you've nailed it actually, because
mm,
even from our experience, what we found is, as you're saying,
mm,
you don't have control of the price, what you
mm,
sell in the market. I mean, you could get maybe a customer, a school,
mm,
or a major hotel that could be taking up your produce, but
mm.
generally they are brokers,
Yeah,
and these brokers run that market. They
yes,
know where the supply is supposed to go to, and so for you, and then they do nothing,
nothing.
nothing. But
They
they are
can't
the ones who
even. They
control
can't.
that bit, and they
The
make
only
the biggest
thing.
buck.
The only thing they can grow is maybe their pubic hair. Hiyo pekee ndo anaweza panda, but
They're for this.
planting it, hiyo food ndo anajua kupanda, but selling higher, plant this, nothing. But kupanga bei, sijui hii inafaa
Oh
iende
my
hii, bei ya
goodness.
leo sijui soko imeharibika and what not,
And
and all
it's
those.
because they're the ones supplying to all these big markets, big
But
institutions,
if you add value,
big supermarkets. Yeah,
uh, if you add value to your product, like
yeah.
I've
Then you short
always
circuit
thought
that.
of a product. In fact, I used to call it Jikoni Special,
Mhm.
whereby is a paste or cubes made up of you mixed tomatoes, a paste of tomatoes and onions, which are dried out. So you can buy one full for the month. You don't have to go to the market anymore to buy onions and tomatoes. So now you have added value to your farm. Nobody's going to, oh yeah, yeah, machine, idea machine.
Idea
Yeah,
machine, not
yeah.
ideal idea.
So you, it's called, if I can remember my chemical engineering, think it's called desiccation, whereby you remove moisture from a component. From that paste, and you have the ground onions, you turn them into sort of cubes or whatever shapes, is already a mixture of onions and tomatoes. So once you put it in and you start frying it, you get the aroma of tomatoes and onions. So you don't have to be
Mm,
buying onions and tomatoes daily. It's just one big jar full of these things. So now you may have a certain target market of people who don't want to go to the market every day. So you have that jar, you buy it at the beginning of the month, it covers your budget. And you're running it from a very small cottage industry and your farm is there. And the beautiful thing is that the peelings, tomato peelings, onion peelings, that is now, what do I call it, natural fertilizer.
mm,
And thanks to our brothers in China, all you need to tell them is, I want to do A, B, C, D, and they'll have the machine for you. And if you want even plug and play on a flatbed where just it is you drive it and connect it to 20 cars, it's there. So
yeah,
it's just
100%.
value addition. You
Value
value add
addition.
your farm. Yeah, you
That's
value
that's
add your
that's the
own
key.
farm.
Mm,
Because you don't control the market.
you don't. It's those
But when you
brokers, those
have and
cartels
you
that
have
run that
yes,
shit.
and when you have this product, you tell someone, number one, you don't have to buy tomatoes every day, or you cannot buy a bulk of tomatoes for the whole month. Some will go bad. But if
Mm,
you tell them you have this pack, this is actually natural tomatoes and onions mashed up together and desiccated. You put this, it is actually you've cleared all these obstacles are out. So you can budget for your tomatoes and onions at the beginning of the month, and we won't see you at the market for quite a while. So somebody will do some will say, mimi nimezoea kwenda sokoni, but there are two, three people they will say, hey, I need this.
mm,
And sometimes the prices of these commodities they tend to fluctuate. This
mm,
time, oh, season sijui nini, oh, tunapokea sijui bei ya mafuta. But if you are running such a thing with the some standardized price month in, month out, and some people are very key on the expenditures, they tell you this makes sense, and you've simply circumvented the cartel thing, the market thing. So it's just add value, or they say make someone's life more convenient, and you're there.
mm. And that's why
So
I mean, much of our agriculture
mm,
and almost any produce we make, what
mm,
Africa lacks is that value addition. I mean,
yeah,
just think of how we've been shafted a lot by the West.
yeah,
But they have shafted us because of our foolishness and our stupidity. So
mm.
if you're stupid, then you'll be taken advantage of. So I mean, if you talk about the cocoa from Ghana, I mean, it's just recently the NASA is saying they're going to have factories. Why did they not do it
What is so
several
difficult
years
in a
back?
factory? Hmm?
Exactly,
What
so
is so
that they
difficult?
produce the chocolate. I mean, if you think of our coffee, the
Mm.
same coffee is what we sell to the likes of Nestle, and then they
It
bring
has
it
with
back
some
to
very
us in
fancy
a very
names,
nice
be
bag,
Domans and I don't know,
branded.
Africaf and some very fancy packaging, but it's just our own shit,
It's our own shit,
huh?
but they'll sell you now. They'll sell it to you several times over.
Because of the packaging. Even abroad in the developed world, majority of Caucasians are actually calling that all this big outlet for coffee. What is it called?
Starbucks.
Starbucks. They say the
Mm.
Starbucks is a complete scam. Most
It
Caucasians
is.
or people living up there say, let me make my own coffee.
Oh yeah.
Even Sharif
I
Mustafa
mean,
maybe can cheap. They tell he kahawa tunauzia I don't know how many dollars per cup. And you can stir your own coffee. You can buy your own espresso machine in your house.
this thing. You know what Sharif is saying here, and I saw this live.
Yeah,
I
the
was
cracked
in a,
eggs.
I was in a hotel
Mm,
somewhere. I think it was Atlanta.
mm,
So in the morning, when they prepare for you, you tell them you want your Spanish or whatever.
mm.
I saw this guy pouring it out of a carton that looked like that carton for milk. I'm like,
It
man,
is.
it
It
was
is.
gonna.
See, it has been.
I
It has
didn't see
been.
him crack up an egg or anything of
No,
that kind.
it has been
Eh?
heated. That pasteurization is a heating procedure. So you get
Hey.
rid of any microorganisms. Then
So
that
it
pack
lasts
is
longer.
sealed. It has been sealed. You are heating seal. I think that machine is called heat fill seal. Heat fill seal, yeah, HFS, heat fill, yeah, HFS machine. HFS machines are there for any product that you want. You
Yeah,
heat
that
the
means
product,
I
you fill
saw
it,
that
and
shit and I was like,
hmm.
man, these
So
guys. I
that
guess
one
that's why.
gives you the sell by date is longer. Now imagine a farm having that one in Kenya. Nani atakwambia tu oh, sijui bei ya mayai imeenda juu kwa sababu sijui some
Maybe
weird
for my
stuff
eye,
here.
tusifike hiyo level. Strike me, I
Yeah.
want a real egg. I want to see an egg being cracked open and get
You
my
see
sunny side
now
up.
that one can work in development because in those countries, what do I call it? Standards work.
Mm.
In Kenya, KEBS will tell you that we hope you are making the good thing. See, they announced recently in the news that
Mm.
we don't have the capacity to check uh, what each manufacturer is doing, but you're operating on good faith. So I can go to China
What
and
is
come
that?
up with a concoction that looks like an egg and
Yeah,
package it and sell to people. Then you
yeah.
get sick. So some ideas, unless you now do it yourself, you have your own principles. But if you we do it as a group and somebody will look at it and say, let me go to Wung Lee, tell me, hey, make me something that looks like this. Like
They
a
will.
mixture of starch and what makorogo flood.
They will.
Like these guys, they were discovered they are bringing fish to Kisumu, Chinese.
Yeah, yeah,
Cheap.
yeah. I heard about
They
that.
extremely so somebody invested. How come this fish so cheap? They
Yeah.
said Kumbe that those fish farms in China,
Mm. Mm.
the pond is next to a pig farm.
Mm-hmm.
The sewage system for the pigs is what feeds the fish.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take a very huge container of antibiotics which are poured in the fish pond to cater
Oh, then
for
to
any
accelerate.
microorganism that may be in the pig shit.
Okay.
So it is the literal definition of full of shit. The fish is literally full of shit.
Full of fish, full
Unapata
of shit.
samaki inatoka China inafika Kisumu inauzwa I don't know 150 shilling. You wonder what hii fish ilikuwa ikikula. Kumbe eti ilikuwa inakula mavi ya nguruwe.
So it's
Plus
it's like a steroid. Hiyo mavi ya nguruwe
mavi ya
inaifanya
nguruwe,
inakuwa fast.
a cocktail of mavi ya nguruwe and amoxil.
Mm.
So you think that umeangukia deal. And that is where our governments,
Like,
we have KEBS telling you we are operating on
yeah,
good. You are in Kenya and say you're operating on good faith. You
man.
want hiyo si
What
umeua
is
watu.
that? I mean, we've seen it hata na hizi mizinga. Guys buying Johnny Walkers and Jack Daniels that are bootleg. Imagine, it's just a concoction of poison in there. Yeah.
Then there's another group of motherfuckers who they were collecting some very funny oil. Then they are packaging it in a very fancy container for motor vehicle lubricant.
Mm.
Uh, I think I don't know that oil. I think they were concocting something out of banana peelings. Then wanaweka kama you
Engine
have
oil or
either
something.
engine oil. Yes, Karibu Loot family, welcome. So
Mm.
you come with a very big. It is sealed. It has a big name, a big petroleum market. My Mercedes Benz S550. I need the best oil. You
Mm.
pour in, even those sensors tell you, wait, chief, umeweka nini leo bwana? Hii sili ya kawaida.
The car starts doing some funny acrobatics hapo. Utaanza tu kujack and before you know it, the engine has conked out.
You go back to Munich, they say you just buy a new engine. You don't
They
even
buy a
have the
new one.
expertise to repair this one. What did you put here? So it's our attitude. And the best way, as I said, operate like a jet fighter or Formula One car. Chart your own path.
Chart your own
Chart
path.
your own path. Don't bother with, because if you listen to some people, somebody will just convince you to join the shit bandwagon. Oh, wajua maisha Kenya ni expensive, maisha ni ngumu, sijui nini. You will find yourself walking in that trap, and it's people can really convince you to do shitty things in this country. People have what called shitty logic. tell you, oh, like
Mm.
this thing they normally tell you, oh, kununua gari is a waste of time, nafaa ununue pickup, sijui. You don't understand. So someone doesn't understand the concept of time management.
Mm.
Oh, gari is a useless thing. So where you really, if you are moving around, dealing with the clients, prospecting for business, gari is a waste of time. Sio haya,
Mm.
sawa, wewe endelea hivyo hivyo tu.
Mm.
I saw the, what do they call it? I just in passing that Geo Summit, interesting stuff there.
Geo
But
Summit.
for the where they were highlighting electric vehicles
Mm. Where
uh,
was it?
in Nairobi, I think it was in KICC or something.
You mean the one that
Whereby,
happened earlier this week or another one?
yes, that one. I was watching the stream of vehicles and I was looking for. I only saw the Rivian was there. There was a Land Cruiser.
I saw some
Uh,
Rivians, and I think even government has bought. I saw some. Were they for KWS? Some I saw some Rivians
no,
that.
Rivian is by some American conservation. They bought four of them.
Ah.
Some Americans brought them in. There's some. They are called conservation conservatories in some Masai Mara. They are owned by
Mm.
Americans. Then I saw the Rom motorbike and there's a certain Land Cruiser
Mhm.
that's normally it was converted into battery power. I unless they've changed that vehicle has a range of 120 kilometers, and then the
Mhm.
majority were matatus. Now,
The the buses, you mean?
what I was looking for are
Mm.
situations whereby transport is a necessary headache. That is where e-mobility will play a role. The places where transport is a
You mean?
necessary headache is like
Mm.
in health industry, ambulances.
Mm.
Yeah. The ambulance is only to transport the person and maybe give him first aid on transit, but the hospital will make money from treating you inside the facility. The
Mm.
presence of the ambulance is simply like to let you, the potential customer, that this hospital has equipment. Things like I didn't see any of those vehicles branded as school buses.
Mm.
A
Mhm.
school core function is to sell you education facilities.
Mhm.
They are selling you an opportunity to remove ignorance from your child. That is their core business. The bus
Mhm.
is simply a facilitator. In fact, if 10 schools in a locality didn't have buses and they didn't even plan to buy one, they will not bother because it's a competitor. They say, me, I have a
Mm.
bus, you, Auna. So it's like a selling point, but it's not their core business. So I was expecting that. I was expecting manufacturers or distributors, people like whoever is supplying soap, cooking gas, this vehicle which cover short distances. That their business is gas. That's transport is because that gas cannot carry itself. If
Mhm.
you could come up with a gas cooker or a gas cylinder that is like a drone that flies itself to the owner, they'll say, later you. Because this one you have to pay a driver, you have to pay for servicing the vehicle, you have to pay for
Mhm.
fuel, you have to pay for insurance for the vehicle, a lot of things which are not exactly directly related to your core business of gas.
Mhm.
So transport is a necessary headache. We have companies which are are located far from the normal commuter routes. They have to
Mhm.
provide transport for their employees.
Stuff. Mm.
Yeah, so transport is just something they need to ensure that people get to work on time and the work begins on time. It's not their core. If the employees could fly through the air like Superman, those guys will be singing hallelujah and admiring the what you call the overheads. But they have to do this. So why don't we maximize on making it as cheap as possible? A staff
Mm.
bus that moves people, let's say 20 kilometers. In the morning, it does 20 kilometers to bring people to work. That's 20 from the factory to the collection. Let's say 20 kilometers or 15 or something. Go return, that is 40 kilometers. Then in the evening, another 4, that is 80 kilometers. So a bus with a range of 120 kilometers is okay for you. It is following a particular route. Nenda rudi asubuhi, nenda rudi jioni. A school bus. Chukua watoto hakuna school bus inaenda.
Actually, it's very good you've introduced that idea, because the good thing with those kind of trips, they are short haul. So they are all within a certain very defined geospace that is within a city.
Then now, when it comes to charging infrastructure, since it is a short haul, the factory or the school or the hospital becomes the hub for charging. So it is completely stress-free.
Very stress-free.
Now, if you add in what you call, I don't know if companies are doing this, if you do what we call electric power hedging agreement, whereby you say, this is the amount of power I've been paying for the last 5 years. If you give me a 30% discount, I'll pay it once for this year.
Yeah, I know they do that with the airlines and fuel agreements they have with suppliers. They have to hedge the cost. So if it's saying every year they buy X amount of fuel, they can get it at 100 shillings a liter, and they can hedge that for a period of 2 to 3 years. So despite any, if there's any substantial shift in that sector that maybe takes it from 100 to 200, even when it's trading sort of on the retail market at maybe 110 or 115, you're still getting it at 100 at a liter. Yeah. So they lock it in for a period of time.
Do that with KPLC. Then you have your small fleet of small trucks that are supplying bread all over the place, or groceries, or your school bus, or your staff bus. You are actually spending zero, because you can plan that, because you are hedging for, like, you are doing a hedge. Let's say you're using figures for last year before you introduce the electric vehicle. So once you've done it, then you plug in the electrical vehicle post signing of the hedging agreement. The cost of that vehicle running it is nearly zero.
Yeah.
Because there's no increment. It's based on an agreement that was made before you bought it. So maybe they'll say this is your power consumption, some bit of mathematics.
But how about, you haven't spoken about commuter transportation for people in the
commuter, it's a bit, I find it a bit tricky, because you see these circles, these are a collection of vehicles that are owned by different people.
Okay.
If the circle is one big company with its own yard, whereby all vehicles troop to that yard at the end of the day, have no problem. But when you have a circle of, let's say, 50 vehicles, 10 are owned by this guy, 12 are owned by this guy, 1 is owned by that other person. And normally, at the end of the day, somebody will want to park his vehicle at his place of, because it's his vehicle, he's only using the registration of the circle company. So how do we handle it? If, let's say, you have, in a circle of 30 vehicles, you have 10 vehicles, and you are registered under the Brian Andrew Circle or something like that, and you have your own designated parking. Sharif Mustafa has 3. Youth family has 4. I have 7. And the best way, it is good if you have this charging station being one central area where they can charge. How are you going to manage it? Couple it. Is there a place in Nairobi? Is there a place in Nairobi where you can park 70 matatus at a go?
And that's probably the problem. Maybe it's how we've structured our, particularly for Nairobi, that is how we've structured our transport system. So it might require maybe changing that whole, where you're now requiring,
unless they pass a law.
As a circle, even as you come as a circle, probably you're coming at certain minimums.
You must say that maybe as a circle must have a centralized parking area.
Exactly. There should
we
be
don't see this circle, one vehicle is there, another on the other side, another one may park wapping, because they are owned by people who pay. Now, this is the funny thing. When these circles were being brought in, initially NTSA gave them a maximum fleet size. But they refused. Why? Because when the more members you have, the head of the circle gets more money because there's a registration. As an individual, you pay to run your vehicle with their livery. Now it's coming back to buy them, because if you say this is the maximum number per circle, now you can set up your own yard and what is a bit manageable. But now it's helter skelter. That's why when you go, you walk through Nairobi during peak time, you find like so many vehicles parked.
On the
They are
side
not
of the
active
road.
because the numbers are huge, and during off peak, those numbers it's like a crowd. But if you have a maximum number of vehicles, let's say 25 or 30, that means fleet utilization is higher, and then there's management. I can fit 30 vehicles somewhere, but a circle with
Mm.
150 vehicles, all of them electric. Unataka okay, where are you going to start? Where are you going to park them? Let's say you want to split them into 50, 50, 50.
I mean,
Where
the other idea could be, instead of those circles owning their own yards,
hmm,
it's them, getting that service from the government. The stations themselves, the bus stations themselves, should be crafted in such a way that there's also, sort of a charging bay, some place where you can then just go plug in. And it could also be situated where people are just coming in to sit in. So as they come in, this thing is still charging as it is stationary at the station. So you see, this is the problem, because we privatized our transport system in the city, and probably there's a benefit to it. The other one is there's a downside to it, because normally, if it is managed by the city, it's the ideal, where
yes.
you have a well-functioning,
Or
city
if it
council,
is not either
city
the city
government.
to manage it, or it is given to only one or two companies.
Yeah. It shouldn't be too many.
Now if it is one or two companies, the vehicles that I've seen, I saw them. They're small
Mhm.
vehicles, 25 seaters. Then Basigo, they have introduced 35 seater. If it works, you need a vehicle of 67 or 65 seat.
Yeah.
Huge vehicles.
These bicycles are quite small. I don't know why
They're
they
small.
decided on a smaller dimension. I would have expected at least 60. At the very
67
least,
seater,
maybe
and
in
we
a
only
couple of.
have one or two companies handling the entire city. Now
Yeah.
organizing it is better. Where maybe the Athi River fleet, where in a park Malflani,
Yeah.
the Utawala fleet in the depot yao. But
Mm.
this issue of one person has three, another person has two, another one has
No, they
seven.
need to remove that.
Hmm.
In a city and the scale of the city that we have in Nairobi, it's the same way of like housing. Sometimes when you also let everyone now build their own little houses, it would be a shark in the
You,
midst of
you'll find a
mansions,
house
and then it
on
just
your.
messes up the whole setup. Yeah. In
So
a
it's
city,
all
there
up.
needs to be some modern uniformity,
Yeah,
because
that's
if
why
you do things like
in my
that, then
narrative, I steered away from the Matatu thing. I just said this is because
just
imagine now we
and
have
others.
100 vehicles. Where do you start now? Already, even the diesel powered ones, you know how they crowd in Nairobi.
Yeah.
It's a headache. You need at least 67 seater buses whereby we can put some which are charging and others are running without any issue. Or alternatively, we can say for the matatus, let them be series hybrids.
Yeah.
We are okay with series. We have that 35% drop in fuel consumption. We'll be okay with that. But
Well, yeah.
for the full electric, more we focus on industries where transport is a necessary headache. That person bringing, when you have a group of companies, each running electric vehicle to supply gas, that drop in cost will trigger one person to reduce his price because you are competing. Then that is we are mepunguza. What I mean ipunguza yangu. So the net effect is commodities that are used by all of us go down. That bread
Mm.
van, that vehicle that is supplying milk and whatnot, that is okay. For motorbikes, I'm okay with swap stations. You do a swap.
Yeah.
In fact,
Makes sense.
the goat himself, we had a discussion on my Twitter inbox about having universal swap stations. That one will need a rather heavy pocketed investor who will approach a firm like Rom or there's this one of the best electric bikes I've seen. It's called Credin. It's an Indian bike. It is sold by someone called Steamer Boda. So
Mm.
approach these two. Tell them, I know you are in business selling motorbikes. Why don't we do this? Why don't we sell you our batteries? Then we are assuring you that our substations, we have at least 5 substations in all of our 47 counties. They'll jump to it because now if I sell you one in Nairobi and you're in Moyale, somebody will swap for you the battery there. And then what happens? Competitors will chime in and say, oh, there's a certain battery whereby if we tailor make our product for our motorbike to fit that battery, and someone is buying it in Nairobi, in Kitui, there'll be 4 substations, each with 300 batteries in. Hasta la vista. Now, that kind of business is what you call a rat race evader. Because the time will come, the e-bike industry will be a rat race. Every Tom, Dick, and Kamau will be importing his contraption there, international e-bikes, but you said my job is to ensure that you guys have batteries. And if if your motorbike comes with this battery, I'm assuring you, each county there will be 4 substations, and each one will have 500 batteries available for you. Automatically, the investor will say, "Oh, good, let's talk." Now you have moved away from a rat race. You go and kukaa chini, relax and wait the rats fight over each other of our motorbike has more oxygen or whatever in a kuna nutrition. You are moved away from the marketing gimmicks. Whatever motorbike you'll buy, they'll go to the Andrew Mutua battery because it's now the standard battery for Kenya. Then you spread to East Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, because we are the economy that talks in Kenya. So somebody like Ampersand will say, "Oh, so there's somebody in Kenya. If you can reach 47 counties, you can go into the entire region. So within no time, you are like the powerhouse of battery swap centers in the region, and it's just easy money for you."
Yeah, I get it, bro. So yeah, I think definitely
Wow,
those are some of the things that
we've
we
gone
need to
past
think
12
of.
minutes.
We have.
Interesting,
We
very
have.
interesting.
But yeah, that was a great discussion,
Mm.
eventually bringing us back to the e-mobility space. It's an
Yes,
interesting space to look at.
yes.
It's still
Mm.
starting
But it's
out.
something that
So
is in progress, and I'm sure
yeah,
within no time things will. I'm sure the people who are manufacturing the fossil fueled cars, when they are starting up, they face a lot of problems. That's a given.
100%.
So,
Any change
so
is
uh,
it has to come against some of those, you know,
mm, mm,
um, established norms.
yeah,
So we have to change a lot of those. We have to change a
mm,
lot of those established norms. But
mm.
yeah, cool. That's another free flowing Saturday episode number
Number
33.
number 33, man. We are
Uh,
approaching 50. Soon we'll be at 100. We need to set up a very nice hotel lobby where you can have cameras and say this episode number 100,
you know what?
like
That's a good
live from
idea, by the way.
live
We
from
do
Hilton Hotel.
we'll do a live.
Hmm?
I'll probably we
Live
can do
from
it. There's a
Hilton.
You have a
There's,
Hilton hotel at the Garden Hotel close by where you live, which is quite on my way home.
okay,
I'm
yes, yeah.
living in
So we have
Machakos,
the
so
the free flow Saturday episode number
just check out
100.
the lobby. Go to the lobby there and
We call it,
maybe
we call it
call
the
Akina Mustafa Sheriff to
uh,
also fly down. There'll be
yes,
our live
we call it
audience.
the Centennium edition number 100.
We
All
will
right,
definitely
so
do one live.
yeah, yeah.
That's for sure.
Mm.
When I'm in
So
Kenya, we'll do one live setup. We'll
well, but you
pick
have
a
to time it for
spot.
number 100.
No, even without, yeah. So the
No,
100
we
is
have
a
you
momentous
have to
one.
give the Razzmatazz in your number 100, the Centennium
Maybe even
episode.
the 50th one.
Yeah, 50 is
How
okay.
many
Yeah.
Saturdays are left till the end of the year now? We have about 3 more weekends, so roughly 4. Rather 3 months. So 3 times 4 times 4.
Mm.
So 12 times 4, around 48. Huh?
48.
Yeah, 48. So we'll hit 50 before the end of the year. Because now we are just about, what, 17 left to hit
Yeah,
number
17.
50.
Yeah,
Okay,
that will be
maybe
fun.
I don't think I'll be home by then, but yeah.
We'll come up with
But
something.
all the same, we would do, yes, 100. We'll try and target to have it live,
The
but we'll also do
Centennium
some
edition,
others.
FFS,
We'll have
live from.
we'll have to do some others live
Mm.
when I'm in Kenya.
So, you can give a salute to our, first off, our lone wolf audience, Masharif Mustafa. Shukrani sana, Lut family, for taking your time to come and listen to the rambling of two maybe crazy people, but it is what it is.
Craziest.
Tunasema asante and
Crazy ones here.
adios.
Adios. See ya.